The following special episode of Addressing Gettysburg is brought to you without commercial interruption by our Patreon page. Just go to patreon.com/addressinggettysburg so you can help support the show and keep it going and growing. Just go to patreon.com/addressinggettysburg and help us help you. That's patreon.com/addressinggettysburg. And we thank you in advance. Now on with the show.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special edition of Addressing Gettysburg. Today, I'm Matt, your host, and today we are talking with a fella who you know and love. We all know and love him, and his name is Christopher Gwinn. He's the Chief of Interpretation here at Gettysburg National Military Park. Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on, as always.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, as always. So as we wait for the audience to build and for people to start calling in, by the way, this is a call-in show, so if you are watching live, then you want to call the number on the screen. 717-420-1978 is the number to call. Call now, because we don't know when we're going to get to the calls, and I want to go right to them without having to beg you to call. So call in now and get in the queue if that's what you want to do. See how I made that little rhyme there? Anyway, Chris, how have you been? We haven't seen you in a while. We didn't do a winter one.
Oh, yeah, I've been well. Thank you for having me back.
You're very welcome. A lot of exciting things have been happening in Gettysburg recently. The beaver deceivers have been put in. Mm-hmm. A big win-win for everybody, I think.
You know, I've been very impressed to see how they've handled the water around the 40th New York. And that was, for me personally, it was one of the things that I really cared about.
Yeah,
and making sure that a level of access was provided, and that if, somehow a veteran of the Mozart Regiment could, be resurrected and come back.
Yep.
You want to be able to take them back to their monument with pride and say, hey, we're telling your story. We're doing a good job.
Right.
And I think that those devices have done a great job of deceiving the beavers. So I'm very pleased with that.
The beaver deceivers, and there are these contraptions that have like a box that goes in the pond, and it's got a grate over it, and it's like a drainage. It's a drain.
Absolutely right. So if you were to go out and knock a hole in that dam. Right. The beavers are going to do what beavers are designed to do. They're going to go and repair it, and by the next morning, it's probably going to be better than it was the day before, right?
Yes.
Which is one of the things, the superintendent often comments on is, the beavers are great, for battlefield rehabilitation because they do chew up a lot of that underbrush around Devil's Den. So, it's a good thing about it.
They did clear out that whole area.
They did their thing.
Yeah.
But, we got to figure out a way to manage the water levels. And the best way to do that is to deceive them with this pipe that runs under their dam so they don't even realize the water's flowing.
Yeah.
So it's been a good experiment.
And so far it seems to be working. Mm-hmm. They haven't figured it out yet.
I was out there the other day, and 40th New York is high and dry.
Right. So, and well, I guess you can't walk out to it yet, though, because the
round top rehabilitation, the fence is there.
The fence is there.
But visually, you can tell he's back on the high ground where he belongs.
The high ground. And so that is good that we have that going on.
It is.
Team Beaver wins because the Beavers get to stay. Team Mozart wins because Mozart is dry. And the Beavers win also. So it's a win-win-win. It's a Michael Scott win-win-win. And
I have a soft spot for the Mozart Regiment. I should preface this discussion by that. I have a soft spot for them.
Why?
Well, I think they're very emblematic of the Union cause. So in this one regiment, you got guys from Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and New York. So the regiment doesn't have that kind of built-in identity the way that a lot of regiments had. We talk about these communities going off to war, and the 40th, and plus they get all these 2-year regiments that their enlistments are expiring. This is before Gettysburg. Uh-huh. And so you look at it from the perspective of some of these officers who have to command these men on July 2nd, and they got to build that sense of esprit de corps and camaraderie. It doesn't naturally happen.
Right.
But the 40th New York, they do remarkable service throughout the American Civil War. Got a soft spot. Mozart.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that about them. I figured they were just all New York. So that's interesting. Learn something new every day.
When the rehab project is over, you can go read the tablet. And it'll tell you about the companies from Massachusetts.
Well, that's what I'll do then. And then the rehab project is still going on.
Yes, it is, yeah.
We were very lucky to be invited by Superintendent Sims to go up there and do a video of the progress.
I watched that.
And I have to say, thank you.
Along with David Malgi. I thought
Dave Malgi sponsored it, and he brought some artifacts from his personal collection, never seen by the public before, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out after this show. No, that was, I have to tell you, I'm thoroughly impressed with the Park Service in this one here, because you guys are displaying something that I never thought possible in a government agency, and that is flexibility and the ability to improvise and to deviate from the plan on the page.
Yeah. Yeah.
And usually, you know, like the stereotypical idea of a government project like this is, well, this is what it says on the paper. And it's like, yeah, but sir, we can't get through this giant boulder that's the size of 3 buses or something. Well, we're going to have to blast our way through, you know, whatever. The plan says this. I was very relieved, very happy to hear Steve saying many times that, you know, well, we found that this wouldn't work, and, you know, on paper it's one thing, but you bring it out here, it's another thing, and so we deleted it from the plan. And I was like, oh, this is so refreshing.
Yes. And I will say, so I think a lot of that comes down to leadership, I think, and having a very clear philosophy for what you want, right?
Right.
And to Steve's credit, Steve Sims, superintendent, one, he's an engineer, so he understands that whole world. I'm a history guy, right? I know where I kind of want my trail, and I want I want the visitors to be able to do this. But he understands the engineering behind it to a level that far exceeds my abilities to comprehend. And he's, I think he gets the idea that you can only do this project once, right?
Yeah.
So you can't mess it up.
Right.
And we'd rather have the lightest touch possible and retain that sense of being on Little Round Top than overdevelop it, or to devalue the very thing we're trying to demonstrate has value. And it's a balancing act, but I think the project is on a much better trajectory now than it has been at any time in the past 10 years, which is how long I've been engaged with it. Right.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. The few, I guess, big changes that there are, I think are changes for the better. That retaining wall around the, 99? No, not
the retaining wall around the 40th New York.
No.
Or the 44th New York.
Haven't gotten there yet. That's the one they're adding. But they took one out around, 91st PA?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, I know what you're talking about now. So
Welcome back.
That retaining wall was actually built by the National Park Service in the 1950s. And if you're familiar with the hill at all, we had those 3 interpretive panels there. It provided a little kind of overlook where you could look at the Valley of Death and Union Line. So that's all National Park Service. That doesn't date from the War Department, from the era of the veterans. That's MPS in the 1950s doing that. And so we removed all that, revealing the original topography underneath it, including this massive boulder that you can see in early photographs that had been buried by that NPS, we call it Mission 66 era park structures, infrastructure.
Okay. Yeah. And so, so now there's a boulder that we haven't seen before that'll be part of the whole thing. It'll be there.
I think it'll add to the feeling that you're actually on Little Round Top.
Right.
So we're revealing some of that 1863 topography. So it's not going to look as though it's this alien environment.
That's the thing. When talk of this was started, and do you remember, I don't know what plan it was, but there was a PDF circulating around that was a proposal by, I don't know, some architect or whoever would make these proposals. And it had, these like half circle observation decks by the 44th New York I think a building down at the corner at the intersection, right?
Yep.
And I was just like, just horrified by the thought of this, And then, of course, that was not going to be the plan, but still, I was like, well, I don't know, and I'll believe it when I see it, And I have to say, I was very relieved by this because it does feel a little bit more natural. Now, the 44th New York you mentioned, they're building a retaining wall around there. I think necessarily so, and I think it looks nice. I saw the recent pictures they put up.
Posted yesterday.
Yeah, and I think it looks really nice, and I think it's going to make it a lot safer to walk around
the original path that went around that was literally crumbling down the hill. So you had to do something, otherwise it's just the 4th New York would just kind of, either be completely inaccessible or,
right. Or eventually topple
down and stuff, end up down the hill.
And then right below that, the breastworks that the soldiers had put up, the stone wall, which was just basically strewn rocks all over the place from people climbing all over it, has been built up.
Yes.
And a path is being formalized going down to the 16th Michigan, down to the 38th Pennsylvania, 83rd. I was looking at it backwards. 83rd Pennsylvania, which if you wanted to go down there before, you had to twist your ankle and possibly trip and smack your forehead on a rock.
There was nothing there that the Park Service had put in to facilitate that for you. So you were creating what we call a social trail, right? Which is, and I get that concept because the veterans placed these monuments so you could go up and read them, right? So providing that level of access, I think, is paramount. But we had never provided a trail for you, so you just kind of made your own trail, and that wasn't good for anybody, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the other cool thing about some of these trails is, you'll get to access the 83rd Pennsylvania, but you'll also be able to have experiences like following the route of the 4th Texas up the hill, or the 47th Alabama.
The Texas Trail?
Texas Trail.
There you go.
I think the official name is TBD, but right now we're calling it the Texas Trail.
I like the Texas Trail.
We'll see if it's
makes sense. It's kind of where they went, But anyway, I think for the whole thing that I saw a little round top, and from what I'm hearing from people who watch the video, we have to give Gettysburg National Military Park a Dan Butterfield. So let's do that right now.
Dan Butterfield.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
No, that's our way of trumpeting you, and we're praising you guys. Dan Butterfield is a good thing here.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
I feel better.
Well, only this way, where it's...
Dan Butterfield.
If I say you're like Dan Butterfield, that's not necessarily a compliment, but if we do it like a bugle call, then it's okay.
He was an arsonist, did you know that?
No, I did not know that. Really?
He was an arsonist.
Before or after the war?
Before the American Civil War.
Really?
I don't know the whole story from as well as I should, but there is the accusation that he was lighting barns on fire across the New York country.
Really? And then would he go and put them out, like to be the hero? Or
I don't think so. No, I think he just let them burn. Yeah.
Wow.
One of your more astute viewers can
they might know
correct me on that.
Yeah. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you're joining us now, we are going to take your calls if you have questions for Chris. So call the number on the screen, 717-420-1978, and we'll get back to that once we have a chance to, once I'm done talking to Chris about what I want to talk about. And also, if you hear a question answered before you get in, don't hang up. We still want to hear from you because maybe your re-asking the question might spark a new piece of information in Chris's mind. So stick around. Just get in the queue now. All right. So what exciting things have you guys got in store for us? The 160th is coming up in a couple of months.
Yeah.
Everybody's excited about it. What are you guys going to do to dazzle us?
Well, can I take a step back in time first?
Whatever
Talk about some of the things we have done that perhaps escaped your viewers' notice.
By all means.
So the First Shot House.
Oh, yeah.
First Shot House.
Yeah.
From Whistler House.
Yeah.
Over the past couple of years, the park has been rehabilitating that house and that site. And there was never any real visitor access to that site before. So
No.
you couldn't go look at the marker where Marcellus Jones allegedly fired the first shot. It's still very difficult to get in and out of there because of the traffic.
Yeah.
But
literally taking your life in your hands if you try to go walk up to that.
You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful. What we have done, though, is made it a little bit safer for you to drive into the site and park on site. So there's a gravel parking lot there now. There's an interpretive panel there, and there's a path that'll take you to the house and to the marker. And so it's another area of the battlefield that you can go and explore a little bit more safely now because of some of the work that we've done. So
that's great. Because used to, if you went and walked along the embankment on the road in front of the house,
I wouldn't do it.
No,
I wouldn't do it.
Because
It was very
you
dangerous.
could easily slip and just go right into traffic, and there's no shoulder there whatsoever.
No, it's very dangerous.
So now there's a pathway behind the house, I'm assuming, right? Or is it?
It's behind the house, yeah. So you'll use the old driveway. We have an expanded parking lot out back. Again, not suitable for buses, but if you're a licensed battlefield guide with a car tour, or you're out on a battlefield jaunt, it's somewhere for you to go now where you can interact with that landscape a bit more safely.
Which is good, because I get a lot of people, listeners that want to know where it is, or if we get together, they want me to take them out there, and something everybody's curious about.
It's a cool spot. It's a cool little spot. The veterans that fought in the battle were so proud that they had played a role at all.
Yeah.
That they want to commemorate, they want to mark it. And of course, that's where the marker that Marcellus Jones Places comes from, and that's why the park was able to acquire the house a few years back. And again, we've been able to provide access to that, so that's, I think, a good thing. We have also placed a couple of tactile tables on the battlefield. These are bronze relief maps.
I just saw one of those. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
So they're based off the Cope map, but they allow really anybody, but especially visitors with visual impairments, to get an understanding of the topography of the battlefield, the landscape. But you can use them if you're a guide trying to orient your visitors.
Yeah.
So we have 3 of those out on the battlefield.
Those are brilliant. So one I saw was at the Peace Light. Where are the other 2?
Peace Light, Virginia Memorial, and the National Cemetery parking lot.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Are there going to be more?
Those are all that we have right now.
Yeah.
Right now. What we are doing, to go back to the Little Round Top rehab, is completely redoing all the interpretive signage up there as well. So all of the waysides, the panels, the gathering areas. And, our philosophy, we're commissioning new art to help us tell that story. One of the things we've never done with Little Round Top is really told visitors, hey, here's how you explore the hill. And I'm not necessarily referring to your viewers and your listeners who are well-versed in the story of the battle. I'm talking about the average, 99% of other visitors who come to Gettysburg and they're just doing the tour. We've never really told them how to explore the hill. And so hopefully we're going to fix that with some of our interpretive messaging up on the summit.
I think that'll be great. So will there be one of those relief maps up there?
TBD. Yeah. They're actually, they take a very long time to produce.
I bet.
And they're enormously expensive.
I bet. What are they made of?
Bronze.
Oh, it's bronze.
They're cast brown. Yeah, they're cast bronze.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're the same material as the statues in the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so it's a very laborious process to create those.
I bet. And you did them yourself, or?
Well, we work with contractors and designers.
Oh, okay.
But my team and I played a role in that, certainly.
Yeah, I thought you.
I take all the credit personally. Yeah, I was out there smelting the iron ore down to.
You are one smelter. I don't know.
Doing my smithy work out at the
factory. What else? What else have you guys done? The Winter Lecture Series, I thought, went very well. The Winter Lecture Series, we had the special event for visitors who had sensory sensitivities. So whether you're on the autism spectrum or if you have PTSD, any condition or sensitivity to sound, light, audio. And so we tried to have a nice morning where we toned some of the cacophony of the Museum and Visitor Center down a little bit to allow visitors a more comfortable way to engage with our story. And with the cyclorama, we had the lights up for an hour and a half so you could just spend time with the painting. And thank you to our friends at the Gettysburg Foundation who provided that for visitors free of charge. Yeah, I heard that it was quite successful.
We were very proud of it.
Yeah, good. And you're going to do this again every year?
Absolutely.
Right. And when was that? Was that February?
That was February the 4th.
February 4th, that's right.
February.
So every February it'll be?
Well, I don't know if it's every February. So we'll work with the foundation, hopefully pick a couple of dates to replicate this. I thought it went really well. We also did programming for visitors with visual impairments, with auditory challenges. So we're trying to reach as many people as we can.
Is this a Park Service wide thing, or is this an idea that came from Gettysburg National Military Park?
It's certainly an important thing for the Park Service, right?
Right.
So to reach out to visitors so that everybody can. You said this earlier. It's everybody's park, right? And to find meaningful ways for everybody to engage with it takes work.
Yeah.
Right. And so every park is doing good work, I think, in trying to carry that mission forward. This is just what we came up with at Gettysburg, right?
Well, it takes more than work, though. It takes, number one, the desire.
It's easy to say no. It's easy to be kind of lethargic.
No. Yes.
Sure.
It's easy to blame budget. It's easy to blame staffing, right? It's easy to say no to these things. So you have to have the desire to do it, number one. Number two, the imagination. How are we going to make it so that someone who's visually impaired can come to a field and interpret the battle, or have the battle interpreted so in a way that they understand it? Like, you've got to be pretty imaginative to do that.
Well, I think it also you have to have experience too. And the reason I bring that up is one of the licensed battlefield guides was telling me that she used to use this. It's a tablet. It was created by the Park Service in the 40s, 50s. That's over on East Confederate Avenue. It's one of those early kind of
Yeah.
Anyways, it has raised lettering on it and has the opposing battle lines in a kind of a relief form.
Yep.
And she used to bring visually impaired visitors out there so they could feel the landscape. I thought, wow, that's pretty darn cool. That's pretty darn cool. And then, you go back to Emmer Cope, who creates the Cope map that is today in the group lobby of the Museum and Visitor Center.
Right.
And that was taken to the St. Louis Exposition, I think, in 1903. But anyways, so there's a long history of doing this kind of work. It's just kind of transferring it to a new generation using some new stuff.
Well, I think that's it's very cool to do that and make that, because you're right. Because like you said, I'm right. It's everybody's park.
That's right.
You were right that
Matt
I'm
is right
that
again.
it's everybody's park. That is right again. Well, but I got to tell you this about the winter. As a season, I hate winter. Right. I'm one of these seasonal affected people. Right. I freaking hate winter. However, the winter lectures make it go by so fast for me because it's something to look forward to every week. Typically I go to both lectures every weekend unless there's something keeping me from it.
You didn't go to mine.
Did I?
I don't think you did.
What was yours?
On Little Round Top.
No,
you were there because I called you. Never mind.
Yeah, because you pointed out.
Never mind.
Yeah, I'm like, what are
You were
talking
just
about?
so forgettable.
Thank you. No, I did miss one. I can't remember who's. Oh, I think it was Tom Holbrook's. Because,
maybe that's what it was.
Because it's a
either
visual
way, your
thing.
absence was noted.
Of course it was, I'm sure. But no, I love it because it's often you see a lot of the same faces, right? So you all kind of get to know each other. And, as far as out-of-towners go, there's far fewer of them during the winter, which, I would like to see more of them. But it's also kind of nice because you get your town back. And it's almost like the visitor center is like my private little
Your
place.
little community space, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Have you heard of the concept of having a third place and how people need third places? So you have your home, you have your work. What's your third place?
Good point. Yeah. So it would be there during the winter for sure. During the summer, it's anywhere outside. That's my third place.
It's the park.
Yeah.
The park in a more general.
Oh, definitely the park. Yeah. All right. So that's what we did. That's what you did.
Yeah. Moving ahead. What are we doing?
Moving ahead. What are you doing? People are so excited to know now.
So Living History starts back up next weekend. May 13th, we'll have a Living History group, Confederates over at Spangler Spring. And then we'll have, from then on out, pretty much every other weekend, Living History at multiple locations on the battlefield. So Pitzer's Woods, Spangler Spring, PA Memorial.
Okay.
And then perhaps Meade's headquarters as well. So our seasonal staff make their triumphant return at the end of May. We start our full summer season the second week of June. And so we'll have battle walks every other weekend on Saturdays and Sundays. Not every weekend, as I know people want, but every other weekend we'll have battle walks on Saturdays and Sundays. And so you can check out our website where we'll post those. Uh-huh. We have some new programs we're doing. We're doing an evening twilight walk on East Cemetery Hill, talking about the night fighting that happened there. We're having another kind of twilight program take place over on McPherson's Ridge. We'll do our traditional overview programs, first day, second day, third day, just to give visitors that perspective on the battlefield. We will be very, very busy. So regardless of your level of experience with the Battle of Gettysburg, our hope is we put out a menu and you find something on that menu that you like.
Yeah.
From, maybe it's your first time here, or maybe it's, I give to Matt's Patreon, account.
That's what you should do. Yeah.
So no matter where you fall on that spectrum, there's something on that schedule that'll resonate with you.
How about any of the barns or farmhouses? What was that name of that program?
Well, we call them the doors open.
The doors open.
The
yeah.
doors open. The doors open.
Doing that this year?
Well, we hope to bring that back next year.
Oh.
We hope to bring that back. I know that's a very popular. I know it's a very popular.
People like that.
It's a very popular experience. And we wanted to do it with the First Shot House, but the challenge is just getting access there for large groups of people.
Yeah.
Right? So throughout the summer, we'll probably have Meade's headquarters open up every now and then. The Bryan Farm, the Warfield House, those that are kind of decorated, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the other houses, that's where our seasonals live. It's where they live, right?
Good point.
So short of having breakfast with my interpretive team every morning.
That would be fun. What about but barns though? You could open some barns, right?
You can open up the barns. We use a lot of them for storage, and they need to be cleaned out.
Yeah.
One of the barns we do hope to allow visitors to peek into, though, is the McPherson barn. I mentioned that Twilight program.
That one, like 3 or 4 years ago, you guys had that open, and I went into that, and that was
pretty cool.
That was neat.
Pretty
yeah,
cool.
I love the old barns; they're so neat.
You know, they're very for this battlefield, very iconic structure.
They are.
They let you know you're on the battlefield.
Yeah, the slider barn is pretty neat inside because
we use that for student programming.
Yeah,
we've
so there's like cool stuff in there.
Yeah, there's cool stuff in there.
It's pretty neat.
Old timey farming stuff in that.
Old timey farming stuff. There's I think a buckboard or some kind of wagon.
All kinds. Yeah, we got a wagon. Yeah,
drum.
Wagon.
I saw a drum in there.
There's a drum in there. Yeah. Why are you peeking around our barns? Is the larger question.
I wasn't actually. I was with somebody. Was it you? I was with somebody official. I don't remember who it was.
I'll give you a pass.
But
maybe it wasn't me.
No, it might have been. I thought it was you. Not when we were there for the movie stuff.
Well, we had some living history down there before, so you might have
been that.
Might have been down there for that.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but it felt like I was perfectly okay going in there. Yeah. Now, so okay. So then next year you're going to do doors open.
Well, we hope to.
You hope to. Okay.
It's on the table.
Still quite some time away, so we're not sure yet. Okay. How about so you're going to do battle walks every other week? Did you mention anniversary weekend?
We have not. So
okay, so let's get to that. That's the big one.
160th anniversary.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I see some calls in the queue. Call in now if you got some questions for Chris, or if you just want to say, "Good job, Chris. Keep up the good work."
I need that positive feedback.
Yeah, exactly. He needs that too. He's a human being like the rest of us.
Go to my car and cry a little bit before I drive home.
Aw, don't do that. Don't make him cry. Give him a call. All right, so go ahead. What's going on?
The 160th. So I think there's increased expectation because it's an O number, certainly on the part of my staff and the team here, and certainly on visitors. It falls over a weekend, so we're expecting big crowds. And, we hope to issue our full slate of programming soon. But I will say this. It is based off of the 150th model of programming.
So does that mean Pickett's charge?
No. Oh. We're not doing
because I missed that. I was really hoping you would do that this year.
We're not going to go to that level, we're not at that level yet. But what we did over the anniversary back in 2013 is we had stations on the battlefield at key locations that were staffed, and it was chronological to the battle. So we had unique stations for the first day of the battle, we had unique stations for the second, and then again for the third. We staffed those all day. We offered, you could think of them as real-time programs or key moment programs that are overview programs that are very specific to that site, that time, that moment, that day.
Okay.
So we'll offer those, and then we'll bring back our hikes. The traditional hikes that most folks know and love from our previous anniversaries. So we're hoping to do one on Farnsworth's Charge, which we haven't done before. And the benefit of that is that entire road's closed. South Confederate Avenue is closed. So that it's a great opportunity for us to highlight some of that.
Yes.
We have a lot of space.
Yes.
Great. We have some cool programming out on Barlow's Knoll that we'll be doing. We'll have hopefully some programming over on Culp's Hill and East Cemetery Hill. And so, again, to go back to my earlier comment, we're going to try to, if you just happen to stumble into Gettysburg not knowing it's the anniversary of the battle, hopefully you'll find something you like. If you've been coming since, 1963, hopefully you'll find something that engages you. So I think it's a return to a kind of format that people, since, because COVID disrupted a lot for us.
Yes,
right?
it did. Yes, it did.
And, which I don't think people realize.
No, they don't.
They don't realize how big of an impact that had on operations like ours. I think we're beyond that.
Yeah.
For the most part. And so my hope is that people will see that, the same things that I knew and love from pre-COVID are still back on the battlefield with new Rangers, some new themes definitely, but that same experience will still be there for them.
Yeah, the new themes like what? Give me an example. What do you mean by that?
Looking at the battlefield from a myriad of perspectives, talking about a memory. So how did the veterans remember the battle? So one of the cool ones we're talking about doing is over on Barlow's Knoll, where we're going to look at kind of the legends of Barlow's Knoll. From Bayard Wilkinson, the Barlow Gordon incident, to kind of
Yes.
They're cool, and everybody knows about them.
Great legends.
But let's delve into them,
Yes.
right? And what do they say about the veterans who are sharing these stories, or the people who are sharing these stories?
The most disappointing one is the Baird Wilkerson one because, just there's something so cool about cutting off your own leg, that like, wow, man. He was, 19?
He's a young 19-year-old. And, of course, as your viewers know, the story that kind of goes down in history and memory is that he uses his pocket knife to amputate the shattered remnants of his leg, and he uses his sash as a tourniquet. And there's, of course, the very poignant story that is true of his father arriving. He was a correspondent for a New York newspaper and writing this very poignant account of the battle from the perspective of a man who's just lost his son.
Yeah.
So we'll look into those stories.
Yeah,
So,
that's gonna be cool.
I think it is.
Kind of like one of our most popular episodes is Tim Smith myth busting.
Oh yeah,
because people, Tim loves to bust people's preconceived notions about the battle.
Sure.
And so I'm like, let's do. And it used to crack me up because one of my friends, Bob Steenstra, Bob,
I know
don't
Bob,
you?
Yeah.
He used to do the show with me in the beginning. You were on when he was on, and we had Tim on one time, and Tim told a story, and he goes, "But that really isn't true." And then Bob just about had a conniption fit. He's like, "Well, I've been telling that for 30 years. What do you mean it's not true?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's not true. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah." And then another time, and 4 or 5 times this happened to poor Bob. And, I could just see, just the disappointment and dismay on his face every time. And so I go, you know what? That's amusing. So let's do an episode where Tim busts myths.
Well, I think people, they like that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So they feel like they know the inside story.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in knowing why did the myths develop, right? So
Yes.
Why?
Well, I was just going to ask you that
Who does
about,
it serve? Who does it not serve?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that about Baird Wilkerson. Do you know where that came from, that he cut his own leg off? Who said that first? Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't either. That's why I'm asking.
I don't. I do know is we put out an interpretive panel out there, and we qualified it.
Yeah.
We said according to legend, he said that.
Right.
It used to be a fact. He did it.
Right. And then the same with the Barlow Gordon.
Well, with the Barlow Gordon, and I mean, there's so many layers to that, and I think at the core of it, there's a kernel of truth.
Yes,
there's an element of truth, but Gordon also writes a very self-serving account of the war, where he very much embraces that kind of both lost causeing and reconciliationist approach to the war. And what better example do you have of that than Gordon taking care of the wounded Barlow and that collision that they have later on in life.
Yeah.
Don't know each other, and so we'll delve into those kind of stories.
All right. Well, let's see. We've got some calls here. You ready to take calls from our ruthless audience here? Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, 717-420-1978. Call in, say hi to Chris. You don't have to have a question. Just give him a pat on the back. All right, Debbie Jones, you're on the air. Hi, Deb.
Hey. So my question is about the Whistler House.
Sure.
I went out there a couple weeks ago, and it looks amazing. Loved being able to have that access. But I was curious, having peeked in the windows, I knew I could see the interior needs a lot of help. Are there plans to rehabilitate that in the future?
At this point, no. So we were very focused on rehabbing the exterior of the structure and making sure it had a degree of integrity, right? But we just simply don't have the plans right now to do anything with the interior, say like you might see at the Leicester House or the Bryan Farm or anything like that. So the most important thing was to shore it up and make sure it was stable, which was achieved. They did the exterior treatment so it looks a little bit more like it did in 1863. But as of now, there's no plans to do anything with the interior other than protect it, monitor it. But beyond that, no.
Debbie, why, do you have furniture that you want to lend or something?
No. It'd be neat to walk into the building.
Yeah, it would be. It would be neat to do that, but all in due time, right? All in due time.
Incremental progress.
Incrementalism is what we're talking about here. Anything else, Debbie?
Nope, other than you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Debbie.
Oh, you're talking to you
She's
guys in the Park Service?
I'm positive she's talking to me.
I'm sure.
I'm
sure. Okay, Debbie, you have yourself a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.
You too.
What's today? I'll see you on Thursday then, right? You're going to come in and be the Googler as usual.
Yes, I will be there.
All right, we'll see you then. Have a good one. 717-420-1978 is the phone number to call if you want to be one of the cool kids. And even if you don't, that's the number to call. 815, it looks like the screening failed. If you want to call back, give us a call back. I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead. Bob.
Hello. Hey, doing a great job, both of you, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
My question, you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. My question is, if you're going to do any more, the trails look like they're going to be unbelievable up on Little Round Top. So I was wondering if you're going to do more of that, maybe Culp's Hill, McPherson Woods, in that area, to keep the trails that go all through there.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. You know, one of the projects we'll be tackling in the next few years is called a comprehensive trails plan, where we take a look at the battlefield as a whole, and we identify, okay, here's where we really want to trail. Here's where we want to make a connection. And I think that's a huge opportunity for the park. Because when I talk to people who come to the visitor center, you know, one of the things they really want to do is they want to get out and they want to hike, and they want that kind of immersive, like your get out of the car tours.
Yeah.
They want that kind of immersive experience on the battlefield. And so, you know, we have a lot of trails in the park. We don't have a lot of formal trails or official trails. So we have that kind of the horse trail, the multi-use trail that goes through part of the battlefield. We're working, of course, up on Little Round Top. But, you know, a battlefield that has a great trail system that I love is Antietam.
Yes.
Antietam, you can hike from the North Woods to Burnside Bridge, and you can cross pavement maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And you get to see areas of the park you never thought you'd get to see.
Yeah.
They have a fantastic trail system. I would love, before I retire in 2042, to have a trail system.
But who's counting?
Have a trail system that mirrors that, but for the Gettysburg battlefield. Because I think we have so many opportunities. Many opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. So
It would be cool to be able to walk. I mean, you can, but you got to go on the roads. You know, you
gotta
could
go
walk
to
the whole
avenues.
thing.
The avenues aren't terrible, and you can certainly hike up and down them.
Yeah.
They don't provide you access everywhere, though.
No, and I think
they're
it would
set
be
up for a very different reason.
Sure.
Than, you know, some of the trails that I think this park could really benefit from.
No, I agree. And like you mentioned the horse trails, and what's cool about the horse trail is that, you know, it goes right through the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you know, along the road, it's straight through the middle.
Yeah.
It goes where the road doesn't go.
And in certain respects, it follows old circulation systems. So for in front of the Trossel House, that trail that the horses use today actually follows along the old Trossel farm lane.
Correct.
And so we have the Slider farm lane is another great example of a historic circulation system that is doubling now as a trail, providing you unique access and unique experience, but also bringing back that battle era feature to the landscape today.
Yeah. No, very cool. Any other questions, Bob?
Nope. Just I want to say you're both doing a great job, and met you briefly at your first walk, Matt, and I'll see you again in May for late night.
Oh, well, so, you know, speaking of immersive, you know, Chris said immersive like your get out of the car tours. Tell everybody, Bob, how immersive was our tour in April? It was so immersive that we all came out of it soaking wet, right?
Yes, we did. I don't know if you remember me. I walked back to the car with you for a while, and
yeah, I do now. Yes.
It was. Yeah, we were wet. I was immersed up to our knees.
But how fun was that, though? That's the whole point of the get out of the car tours, is to get out there, and if you get stuck in a thunder and lightning storm, you get wet or electrocuted, and whatever. It's fun. We had fun.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't rain next time, but if it does, what the heck?
What the heck? And you know what? Next time, it would probably be a little bit more of a relief, because I'm sure it's going to hit 80 degrees and stay there for the next 3 months very soon. So that rain would be very welcomed. But let's not jinx ourselves there, Bob. I think we'll be okay. All right, Bob. Thank you very much for the call.
Thank you, Bob.
We'll have a good one. We'll see you in a couple of weeks at the tour. All right, now we got some people calling in. It looks like we have another Bob here. A lot of Bobs.
All right.
Bob, you're on the air.
Hi. Just wanted to thank Chris for all the work he's doing. My only regret is that I personally miss Chris out on the battlefield. He is one of the best interpretive rangers, and I was hoping that he might be doing one of the battle walks for the anniversary.
I will definitely be doing one of them. Absolutely.
You don't know which one?
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
Well, I kind of do. So there's we're working with a group that is portraying the 8th Florida. and we're going to follow in the footsteps of the Florida Brigade.
Oh,
So
cool.
I will most likely be with them out in the battlefield.
Nice.
And
you'll-
very kind remarks. Thank you for that.
And you're right, Bob, by the way. You also are going to be at the Civil War Institute Summer Conference this
I will.
year.
So I'll be leading a battlefield tour for the Civil War Institute, following in the footsteps of George Willard and his brigade.
Yep. So there you go, Bob. If you want to see Chris out on the field again, you don't have to wait for the 160th. You can come to what is that, June 13th?
Yes. June
Yeah,
13th.
come to the
Yep,
summer
June
conference.
13th.
By the way, I mean, honestly, have you ever been to one of the summer conferences?
I have actually.
They're fantastic.
They're very good.
We-
I got my start at Gettysburg. I graduated from Gettysburg.
I
College.
know, yeah.
When I was a high school student, I got they have a scholarship for high school students.
That's right.
And that's how I was introduced. And then my first year at the college, I was actually a student worker for the Civil War Institute. This is
Okay.
back when Gabor Boris was pre.
I was going to
Peter
say, this
Carmichael
is
was back when Gabor
pre-Carmichael,
Boris,
yeah.
ran the Civil War Institute, but I have nothing but the nicest things to say about that organization and the program they run.
I think that's nice that you did that when you were in high school. You graduated from Gettysburg High.
College.
I'm sorry, college. And here you are back at Gettysburg.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, you are.
Very fortunate.
But I mean, it took a while. It's not right away, right? But eventually you got here.
Like I said, I was very fortunate, and I happened to have some great people helping me.
Yeah, good. Bob, anything else that you need to ask Chris?
I did have one other question. Maybe what the status of the campfire programs are for this summer?
They'll actually be back late summer and through the fall. We pushed those to the fall just because, one, it's still pretty busy. Actually, October is the busiest month.
Yeah.
For us now, and just the weather is so much nicer.
It is gorgeous.
And so we'll have kind of a fall campfire series that should kick up probably late August through September and October.
That's cool. All right, Bob. Thank you very much for the
great.
call.
All right.
You have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Our friend Timmy Matthews is on the phone here. Tim, how have you been? Here's Chris Gwinn. Oh,
Hey.
runs.
Hi.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for calling in.
You bet. You bet. So listen, I'm going to kind of reiterate what some other folks said. I got 2 or 3 things here. First and foremost, Chris, you're a consummate professional. I'm one of the 3 people that also follow you on Twitter, and
Thank you. So you're the one.
you get all sorts of interesting things, including the size of your Christmas tree. So that's pretty cool.
That's actually a funny story. Well, let me tell the Christmas tree story.
Yeah, what's that story about?
Well, so I got a new house. I'm sorry to take away from your question. So my good friend Matt Atkinson lives west of Gettysburg on an abandoned Christmas tree farm, and he allowed me to come and get a Christmas tree for my kids. And I wanted to make it a magical Christmas, so I went out there, and I pulled a Clark Griswold. If you remember, Clark Griswold gets a tree that's just absurdly large.
That is like Taurus mini wagon or whatever.
I don't know how. I probably broke a couple logs getting it home. But so anyways, I propped it up and took a photo of how absurdly large this Christmas tree was, and so that's if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's the kind of content you can look forward to.
What's your handle on Twitter then?
It's no.
Okay, never mind.
If you want it bad enough, you'll find it.
Just look for tall Christmas trees, I guess.
It's all part of the incredible interpretive information you get on Chris's Twitter site. I hear there's a new movie coming of Clark Griswold does Gettysburg.
That's my next, extra opportunity. I didn't make Christmas in Gettysburg as an extra. So
yeah, right.
All right, you should have.
No,
listen, I want to get to the point. You guys are awesome, and I just want to point out that every single facet, when I get to Gettysburg, which is my place of peace, every person I talk to on your team, including you when you're very busy. I think I caught you once when you came in from last year at the anniversary week. Remember when the tornado blew through? And you were outside. You actually took a minute and answered the question, and you were literally dripping puddles on the floor. So it was, everybody there is wonderful, and I really want to thank you for that and the professionalism. It certainly trickles, it makes its way to your team as well.
That's kind of
my question for you is You bet. My question for you is, given it, and if you answered this earlier, I'm at work and I haven't been listening too closely. But given the state of affairs at Little Round Top, can you talk a little bit more about, if you haven't already, about maybe added programs and tours and added focus on Culp Hill?
Great question. Yeah, so I do think we have an opportunity with Little Round Top being closed to focus our attentions elsewhere. I mentioned earlier to Matt doing an anniversary program down on South Confederate Avenue, looking at Farnsworth's Charge, which we would never really attempt in previous years just because of the traffic and kind of the difficult nature of that area of the battlefield. So with our summer programming, which begins in the second week of June, we're going to do things on East Cemetery Hill. We have some opportunities to do content over on and programming over on Culp Hill, certainly. I think that I get why people are upset about Little Round Top. If I traveled to Gettysburg and Little Round Top was closed, I'd be upset too, right?
Sure.
It's it's just such a famous spot.
Yeah.
But we got a 7,000-acre battlefield, and this is an opportunity for visitors to explore these other locations. I was talking with one of our rangers earlier about doing programming out on the East Cavalry battlefield.
Oh yeah,
which we haven't been out to in forever.
Right.
So we're very focused on what stories can we tell, where can we bring visitors that maybe they haven't spent a lot of time on before. And so again, I think it provides us an opportunity. We're working hard to get the hill reopened, but until then, we're going to make lemonade out of lemons.
Now, people have asked me. I'm sorry, Tim. Hold on one second. Don't go anywhere. People have asked me on Little Round Top. When is it going to be opened? And I had asked Steve Sims that. Actually, no, it wasn't Sims. So before we did the video, Steve took me and Dave Malgi and the cameraman up there to test the signal of the camera. And we kind of just did a walkthrough, like, a pre-whatever interview. And one of the construction guys came up because he saw these people walking around. He's like, who the hell are these guys? Because Steve wasn't in uniform or anything. And so he came over to us, and then once he realized who it was, we all started talking. And I said, do you guys have a projected end date for this? And he just looked at me and with that look, and I was like, I get it. You don't want to say because then you got to be held to it. So that is the answer, though, right? They're not going to give one because this is a weather dependent job. Like,
it's dependent on a multitude of factors, right? And weather certainly being one of them, but they find a boulder they didn't anticipate finding. An unexploded shell. They have to shut the thing down.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone's gonna be like it will be open on X date.
But the park does want it to be open as soon as possible.
Yeah. We want
they don't want to keep it closed for 20 years.
As soon as it's done and it's a quality product and it's something that we're all proud of, then absolutely.
And you're going to have me do a walkthrough first to give my final seal, right?
You got Steve's email. You line that up.
Okay, thanks. All right, Tim, what else you got?
All right, Matt, can you relinquish my time back to me, Matt?
Yes, I yield my time back to Mr. Smith. Mr. Matthews.
I think Culp Hill, I'm kind of obsessed with Culp Hill, and I just think it's an excellent opportunity for that story to be pushed a little bit more. And I had the absolute honor to spend 2 days with Charlie Fennell on Culp Hill, and it was just amazing. And now I want to know 10 times more. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out. And if I could, I have a suggestion. It might be for your boss, but I'm going to start and work my way up the chain. I love the park, and like I said, it's my place of peace. But man, it is not ADA friendly in any way, shape, or form. It'd be nice if we could park a little closer to the visitor center without having to crawl up the hill, and maybe a couple ranger programs that had kept in mind the people that can only walk maybe 50 yards at a time.
Well, that's a brilliant suggestion. That's a brilliant suggestion. And what I will do is I will talk to the man in charge about those. For the ranger programs, I think that's certainly something that's within the realm of the possible. And your point, you're absolutely right. We've tried to take some steps recently, and for example, to go back to the Little Round Top project, making sure that visitors who have any kind of mobility issues can experience the summit has been one of the things that we've really focused on as we're building these trails and crafting this experience. And so your point is absolutely spot on.
But that's difficult to do, though, isn't it? Because it's outdoors, right? And there's a lot of the stuff, and you have to balance. This isn't just a patch of woods that, the county decides, let's make this a park, and then we could do whatever we want with it. This is a historic piece of ground. And, because there was, in the video on Little Round Top, there were a couple of points where Steve said that, here the plan originally called for, an accessibility or an accessible path or something like that, but we'd have to put 5 feet of fill in, raise the road, and raise, just to make that. So we scratched it. But that doesn't mean that it's not accessible. It just means that particular
that
idea
section,
was scratched.
And so you come up with other ideas to make these things accessible. And there's a menu of options that you can choose from. And you're never going to make everything in this park.
What about 100%. like a people mover or a tram car or something like that?
So I want you to look at our Facebook page and look at some of the comments on anything.
Okay.
And you let me know how you think the American people would react to a people mover. But
fair enough.
The point is well taken. So when you're in the park, you want to the extent that you can, this park belongs to everybody.
Yes.
And everybody should get a chance to engage with it.
Yeah.
And so it's an absolutely spot on.
I agree. Tim, I'm sorry. We cut you off. What were you going to say?
I'm not looking for a 2-lane road to go up through Pickett's Charge, but maybe just a planned walk that only goes so far. But you can still point out many things, but you don't end up a half a mile away.
Yeah.
But just a suggestion. My situation is temporary, I hope, but I completely understand it's an outdoor facility, and there's no way I'm going to be walking from one end to the other. But a couple little pieces here and there would be kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, of course. All right, Tim, thank you very much for the call.
That's it. Thanks so much, guys.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. All right. We've got one more call in the queue. If you want to get a call in, get in now. 717-420-1978. It is your last chance to get your call in. We're going to talk to, we got a lot of redundant names today. 2 Bobs. We were talking about Tim Smith myth busting, and then Tim Matthews calls in, and now to talk to Chris Gwinn is Chris. Hello, Chris. You're on the air. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It says I'm calling to ask Chris questions. Never mind. 215. That's who we got. You're on the air, sir. Or madam.
Okay. It would be good if it's a sir, but I'm a man.
Oh, is this Estella? It's our listener of the year.
It's Estella. Yes.
All right. Go ahead, Estella. He's all yours.
I wanted to let Chris know, first of all, because I don't want him to leave crying, that I think he and the Park Service are doing a fantastic job.
They are.
Whatever changes that have to be made, whatever you need to do. After 38 years of visiting with the park, things need to be switched. So I certainly understand that.
Sure.
Well, thank you for that.
However,
will you be hosting or doing a coffee with a ranger on Saturdays?
Oh yeah, the Coffee with the Ranger program.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So we have every plan to bring back a Coffee with a Ranger. So it's a virtual program we would do, where it would be you tune in on Saturday morning, and there'd be a ranger with a cup of coffee presenting on some facet of the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so we were doing that pre-COVID. I just want to say, before everybody learned how to live stream,
you were the pioneers.
We were doing that in 2017.
Yes.
And it's really cool because it's a short program. It's meant for a virtual audience. It's very kind of relaxed, and the Rangers get to talk about whatever they want within obviously the confines of the battle in the American Civil War. So
sure.
It was a great way for us to, we would bring people to places that we couldn't go with a huge group. So like the Lost Avenue or Neal Avenue or Bushman Hill. And so, yes, our education team and myself were talking about that just today, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I think you should bring that back.
It was a very popular program.
Oh, awesome.
It was a very popular program.
Yeah. Everybody loves coffee and everybody loves Rangers.
Put them together.
So put them together. Got a winning formula.
We came up with it as a way that we could drink coffee and still be doing our job.
I love that. That's what makes something
forward
good.
Thinking.
Yes, exactly.
How can I get caffeinated and provide interpretation?
How can I do what I love to do while working, which I also love to do, but I want to do 2 things I love to do. Anything else, Estella?
That's all I have.
All right, dear.
Well, thank you.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you both so much. Yes, sir. It'll be here before you know it.
All righty. We'll see you then. Have a good one.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you for the call. And actually, we do have one more caller. Got in just in the nick of time. So this one here. So we have this like talk-to-text screening thing. Like when they call in, it automatically does it. And sometimes I don't think it's getting things right. This one says, Veronica, a doctor. Now, let's see what they really were saying there. Is this Veronica, a doctor?
It is a doctor of law.
Okay. All right, Esquire.
That's not what I said, though.
What did you say?
Veronica, adopt a position.
Oh, wow. That really screwed that up.
Close.
Yeah, okay. Veronica, Chris Gwinn is all yours for questions and answers.
Hey, Chris.
Hey there. How are you?
I'm good. How you been?
I've been well.
Good. So, hey, listen, I know you guys are probably wrapping things up here, and I am actually representing Addressing Gettysburg at the Chambersburg Civil War Roundtable tonight, so that's why I couldn't be there. But as usual, thank you for doing these. Yeah. So thank you for doing these. Hey, my question is, and Chris, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, even with my premise here, but I thought somewhere along the line, Superintendent Sims said something to the effect of the Adopt a Position program or something similar to it is in the works of coming back under a different kind of setup, but that's only going to happen once a volunteer coordinator is either hired, or I didn't understand if that was a hired position or a volunteer position in and of itself or what, but is there any movement on any of that?
So what he was talking about is hiring a park-wide volunteer coordinator, which we got money from the government to fill that position. That is, so we got Inflation Reduction Act money, if you're at all interested in the bureaucracy behind the National Park Service. So we got some money to add some critical positions to the team. And the first one that the park submitted and we got approved was funding to hire what will become a permanent volunteer coordinator. And this individual will manage the volunteer program park-wide to include a reimagined version of the Adopt a Position program. So it'll be a little bit different, have a different name, different kind of title. But the central idea of you're volunteering to help us on the battlefield, doing work on the landscape, that remains the same. That remains true. Right. And so, yes, so that's been an approved position. It's just a matter of filling it.
Now you say park wide. Are you saying Park Service wide or Gettysburg?
No, Gettysburg.
National?
Gettysburg.
Okay, so
I mean, they won't just work for the interpretive division. They won't just work for the maintenance division.
So anybody needs volunteers. You go to this person. Let's say Veronica, a doctor. Veronica, a doctor, has this job. You go to her and you say, okay, we need volunteers for this. And then she puts out the word and talks to people and then organizes.
The volunteer coordinator that currently works with law enforcement for the Park Watch program. I mean, the Park Watch program is still going to be managed by the protection rangers.
Right.
The folks in the visitor center and doing the West End Guide Station, they're still going to be part of the interpretive team. This individual is really going to focus on that Adopt a Position Redux program, but also collecting data across the parks and doing all the kind of things that you need to do to manage a park-wide volunteer program. So submitting data at the end of the year, collecting data from our volunteers, getting volunteer agreements signed, all that
paperwork.
Stuff. It takes a lot of work to run any kind of program at this park, and so that would be a really critical position.
I will not be applying for that then. Once you mentioned the paperwork, I was thinking maybe I might want to do that, but nope, paperwork, forget it.
Yeah, not your jam.
Not my jam at all.
Well, that begs the question for someone whose jam it is, where would they find out about? Is it an internal hire or is it external, or how do people find out about that particular?
I do not believe that the method of filling that position has been settled yet. Now, traditionally, jobs in the Park Service, they're posted on federal website, usajobs.gov, where you can go in, you type in Gettysburg or Park Ranger, and all the positions will pop up, and then it'll be there it will be detailed. This is how you apply, or this is who is eligible for the position. So I think that's all still to be determined. But I think it will be a much coveted position.
Sure.
And I think with the right individual, they could do a universe of good at this battlefield.
I agree. It's going to have to be a high energy person.
You need people skills. You need high energy. You need to be motivated. You need to care.
Organizational skills.
All those things.
Yeah. Well, I know somebody like that. Veronica knows somebody like that. She would be a great candidate for the job, but I don't know. Do you have to work in the Park Service already to get a job like this?
Not necessarily. So there are a lot of different ways that you can fill a position. So you can send it out to the American public. So if you have the requisite education or experience, you can apply and be considered. Some are internal to the agency. Some are what we call merit promotion, so you have to already be in the federal service.
Sure, okay.
Sometimes you can limit it by local area, so you have to be within the local area. So there's, again, a lot of ways that we fill.
Okay, good. All right, well, so I guess when the word gets out, then people can go and apply.
Absolutely.
All right, Veronica, thank you. Do you have anything else?
No, that's it. Just keep up the good work, Chris. We're really proud of you and everything you're accomplishing. Those tactile monuments are just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
The programs you're putting on for folks with limitations of any kind are just awesome. And the more history programs with Dr. Hancock and things like that are just very much appreciated. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Veronica. Have fun. Tell everybody at the round table I said hello.
I'll think about it.
What time does it start? 7 or 7:30?
7. I'm pretty sure it's 7. I'm pretty sure it's 7. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell them all I said hello.
All right,
then,
guys.
if you
Take
think
care.
about it.
See ya.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have time for 2 more, Chris? I got 2 more people in the queue here. All right. This person says it looks like he's calling or she's calling about restoring some of the Francis. So let's see what they really were saying. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I knew Superintendent Jim said not restoring the defensive positions on the battlefield.
Hey, are you saying
do you think that'd be a good idea for?
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're kind of breaking up a bit. Are you saying that he said he's not restoring the fences?
No, the defensive positions.
Defensive positions, like the breastworks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you said, okay, you said restoring some of the defenses, not the Francis. That's the computer's fault. Okay.
No.
All right, go ahead.
But do you think restoring maybe one of the lunettes or something on Culp's Hill or along the McGilvery line would help with the interpretation?
That's a good question.
So are we talking about on Culp's Hill in particular, because the defensive works that are on Little Round Top, for example, the rock walls, the breastworks.
Yeah.
So we are rehabilitating those.
Yes.
So we're taking that rock, we're stacking them back up. We're trying to give you a sense of.
I think he's talking specifically about how you were going to make a mock up of breastworks at Culp's Hill.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then.
Well, one of the.
Yeah.
So I think that's in the universe of the possible. I do think on that particular part of the battlefield, as an interpretive kind of display, in a very limited sense, it would make sense, I think, and allow visitors a better understanding of, okay, what did these guys build up here? Because they were crucial in determining the outcome of the battle. The remnant breastworks are still there, as we all know.
Right.
We all know. You can see the low mound of earth snaking down the hill. And so we're not going to rebuild those or restore, rehab those. We're going to protect them as much as we can. But, there's a lot of discussion in the park about how we do this kind of work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, not everybody necessarily was on board with the idea of recreating the breastworks, a stretch of breastworks to provide visitors that kind of insight. I think it could work, though, and I don't necessarily think it's off the table. With everything else going on right now in the park, I mean, it's not a priority for us. We can use other things to interpret those, be it the Brady photographs that are taken, a week and a half after the battle, tactile elements. There's all kinds of things we can do. But, I do think that there is validity to the idea of having some sort of mock interpretive display there, showing visitors, hey, this is what they really looked like.
I mean, I know the concern was that people would climb all over it and then destroy it anyway. right?
I mean, it would be consumptive.
Yeah. So
the public would consume it.
Yes, it would. But there might be a way to
I don't know,
protect it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, caller. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Just like even like, a lunette on the East Cemetery Hill, like just to be like, all right, this is what they look like, and I don't know, something like that. But
or at the visitor center, like maybe there's a way to do it with synthetic materials, like and you keep it indoors, or put it out on the lawn by the Lincoln statue or something.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of options, and parks have done some really interesting things. So if you go to Spotsylvania, they actually have exactly what we're talking about behind behind the mule shoe, and so it's not an unheard of thing. It's just making sure we're being sensitive to the landscape, that we're creating something that has interpretive merit and value, and then prioritizing it with the 15 million other things that we're trying to do.
The Petersburg has what, trenches?
Yeah.
Petersburg, and they have I won't call it a reproduction fort, but they have a reconstructed fortification along the lines.
Is it where it actually stood, or is it somewhere else?
I couldn't say that, but I do know they use it for living history in a way that we certainly don't use the original breastworks.
But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that it might be different if it's built if it's not off-site or just on a part of the site where there isn't anything, like they're not building it on the site of an actual fort.
Absolutely.
Or
that would work.
Yeah, I mean, that would work. But also, they're dealing with trenches, which I think it's easier to have the public move through a trench than to have a mound of dirt and a pile of rocks and logs and stuff on top of the ground, which of course kids are going to want to climb on. Adults are going to want to sit on and take a picture, and it's.
I think under the right
it's a little
conditions,
harder up here.
Those kind of mock displays can be really effective. Carlisle, the Army Heritage and Education Center, they have a trail that you go in and it looks like you're going into a World War I era.
It's so cool.
They've done a great job with that.
That's someplace you got to go, ladies and gentlemen, up to Carlisle at the Army War College. That's so cool.
It's what this gentleman is talking about. They've recreated an interpretive display to help give meaning to some of the locales where the United States Army has fought.
But caller, thank you for the call. What's your name, by the way?
Yeah, Rich.
Rich. Okay.
I have one other question.
Go ahead.
How much did the tactical things in the Civil War start to change in terms of like digging defensive positions? I know it started earlier, but like when did that start to change really hardcore in the Civil War?
Well, I think you can certainly look at the 4 years of the American Civil War, and we can even confine ourselves just to looking at the armies in the East, right? The Battle of Bull Run is fundamentally different than the Siege of Petersburg. Fundamentally.
Yes.
And I think that transition happens slowly and incrementally and over time.
Learning on the job.
You're learning on the job, right? And I think soldiers instinctively don't want to die, right?
Yeah.
Which it sounds funny, but we forget that sometimes.
But it's true, yeah.
Self-preservation is an important thing.
Sure.
And so, even around the time of Gettysburg, if you look at what happens on Culp's Hill, where Greene's men start to dig in, and then the whole 12th Corps line is digging in, and had those breastworks, those entrenchments not been there, the story of that battle could have been very, very different.
Yep.
And then you fast forward to the Overland Campaign of 1864, where it's battle after battle after battle after battle, and you can literally trace the evolution of their approach to digging in, where soldiers would write about this. The second they stop, they're digging in.
Yeah.
The second they're stopping, they're digging in.
Yeah.
Because the nature of war had changed so fundamentally. How long of a shelf life? I think it's a little bit too simple to make a bridge right from the end of the American Civil War to the trenches of World War I. I think it's too simple. It's too easy, because they're not fighting that way in the Spanish-American War.
No.
They're not fighting that way against the indigenous population in the West. But I think certainly if you look at the American Civil War itself, at least here in the East, there is this trajectory, and in the West too, this trajectory where increasingly defensive it's becoming a defensive war as opposed to an offensive war.
You know, I took a course in college on World War I, and I remember the professor did start off by saying that the trench warfare of World War I starts in the American Civil War because a lot of the European armies sent observers over during the war, and they saw it and brought it back.
I think that's too simple. I think it's
no, I agree with you, and I'm saying that to illustrate that point. Is that like he just made it seem like so they all came over there, came back to their countries back in Europe, said, "Here's what I learned." Somebody wrote it down, and then everybody sat on it for 50 years.
Meanwhile, technology is changing in enormous ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes we draw lines between two things and make the transition seem much simpler than it is. The Park Service does this.
Sure.
With the Civil War to Civil Rights theme that's kind of permeated the 150th commemorations and even to now.
Yeah.
Where if you're not careful, you're drawing a straight line between the end of the American Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement in the 1950s and 60s.
And there's a lot of
it's all
zigzaggy, swirly line. Yeah.
People, I think sometimes they like their history very simple.
Yes.
And with these little sound bites, and it's just not that way.
I mean, I understand why you have to do that. You know, you've got to just create a simple link in people's minds, and in hopes that they find it interesting enough and it stews in their brain for a couple of weeks, and then finally they go, you know what? I'm going to buy a book on the Civil War, or I'm going to buy a book on Martin Luther King, or I'm going to, Well,
you hope you provoke the desire to learn more, right?
I mean, it's not going to happen in everyone. Just because you do it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But in the people who are receptive to it, who have the mind of a history lover, it will work. And I think that's why you do it. And also so you don't bore the snot out of the people who are dragged there. Because, I mean, nobody knows about what happened. Everybody thinks the Civil War happened. Then Custer got massacred. Billy the Kid died. Jesse James died first, and then World War I. Nobody remembers the Spanish-American War. Barely remember World War. Oh, the Titanic.
Lincoln gets assassinated. Maybe we talk about Teddy Roosevelt, and then it's the Depression.
Yeah, right, exactly. But they don't realize that in all those boring years, there was still stuff going on.
There's a whole lot.
We just don't remember it.
There's a whole lot going on
because it's not as exciting. Caller, thank you very much. Rich, right? It was Rich.
Yeah, Rich. Thank you guys.
You're
so
welcome.
Much.
Good call. Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good one. Okay. We got it. Okay. We're going to take two more and then that's it. Okay. So this one here is the number one. Alex, you're on the air.
Yes. Hey, guys. So actually, I just had a general battle question and then maybe just ask for a recommendation because my father and I are going to come down there next couple of weeks, but I'm pretty new to the battle. I mean, I've really been getting into it the past couple of years. I started reading the book like Fonz's Second Day and Connington and all that. But my first general question of the battle is: so on the Little Round Top battle on the second day, if let's just say that gets captured, the 20th Maine pushed off. And Oates and them guys are in control of that hill. What happens then? Do you think, because I from what I understand, he said he didn't think he could hold it, even if they captured it. So what do you think happens if they do get it? Do you think they're just pushed right off, or do you think it's substantial and they get reinforcements up there and the battle's changed? That, and then the second thing real quick is, what are recommendations for myself when I get there to try to understand Sickles advance, like the wheat field and that whole area? Do you have any recommendations when I go there to maybe go to certain areas there to try to, just see the terrain and try to figure it out?
Alex,
I know that's what.
before we answer that question, what was the position you were talking about in the first one? I had an equipment thing I was paying attention to and I missed it. Was it Little Round Top or Culver Hill?
Little Round Top.
Little Round Top. Okay.
No, a Little Round Top.
All
yeah.
Right. Chris, go ahead. Sorry.
So when you come to let me start off with the book recommendation. There's a couple of books that I think that will suit you very well. One is A Field Guide to Gettysburg by Carol Reardon and Tom Vossler. That is an exceptional not an introductory book, but an essential field guide to exploring the battlefield. I think it'll give you a great introduction to kind of the 3 days of combat, including Sickles. The author Jim Hessler has published a brilliant biography of Sickles. So if you're really interested in that, I'll turn you to his work. And then finally, the kind of the Bible, so to speak, of the second day of the battle is by a man named Harry Fons. It's called Gettysburg, the Second Day, which is as authoritative a text on the second day of the battle as you can get. So those are my book recommendations. For Little Round Top, the question is, what would have happened had the Confederates taken the hill? And of course, there's no way for us to know what would have happened.
I know.
And a lot of times you get asked the questions like this. What would have happened if Stonewall Jackson were here? What would have happened if X, Y, or Z? And it's always a very difficult question to answer. And I think that it's too easy now, and we do it too often to kind of just poo-poo the idea that Confederates could never have held Little Round Top. There's a lot of things that happen in history and in events. There's causality, there's contingency, this idea that one thing is dependent on another. And so, we have no idea what would have happened. What I can say is if the Army of Northern Virginia takes Little Round Top, and if they hold it, the Union position on Cemetery Ridge is untenable.
Right.
So Meade can counterattack and try to gain it back, or he can reposition the army and fall back. But if the Confederates take Little Round Top and they hold it, Cemetery Ridge, Cemetery Hill, it's untenable. And I don't think it has anything to do with the hill as an artillery platform. I think it's a larger issue than that. You can't have that on your left flank if you're the commander of the Army of the Potomac. But I think so often, kind of the myth of Little Round Top has grown to such extraordinary proportions that we try to kind of bring that myth back into some sense of objectivity, and sometimes we go too far.
Yeah.
Now you'll have some historians say, well, Little Round Top wasn't all that important at all. And I don't think that's true by a long shot. And I do think it's too easy to say, well, Confederates never would have been able to hold the hill. We don't know what would have happened.
But why did
George Meade goes over to take a look at it and gets shot in the head? What happens then?
Right. Oh. Yeah.
James Longstreet.
Oh, my God.
There's so much that can happen.
Sure.
Right? And those guys fighting on Houck's Ridge in the Valley of Death, they look behind him, and Confederates are on the hill. What are they going to do? And it was already a close run thing to begin with. So that's my long way of saying we just don't know. We just don't know.
And not only that, but the Union held the hill. So why couldn't the Confederates hold the hill? I mean, I understand the Union had more reinforcements, but as a hill to hold.
The argument is that those Confederates that took the hill suffered so many casualties and were so exhausted in the taking of it that for a really focused counterattack by the Army of the Potomac, they never would have been able to hold the hill.
Okay.
And there might be arguments in that. But again, George Meade gets shot in the head.
Yeah, right.
Winfield Scott Hancock.
A million things could have happened to change.
Don't know.
But I do love these little round top questions, though, and because a lot of times, so usually when the question comes in, it's, do you think Longstreet should have let Hood go around the right? Right? Sure. And then I love that because, what's that?
No, it's just, I'm sorry, I mean to interrupt. Yeah, it's just dumb to I just think that's ridiculous. He couldn't go around. It would have took too long. It's already late in the day. I'm sorry.
No, but you're right. You're right.
I just think that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, but nobody's ridiculous for asking the question because they don't know. But and I'm not saying you're saying the people are ridiculous, but I understand what you're saying.
No.
But yeah, it would have taken too long. Yada yada yada. And then not only that, but like. This is a great opportunity. I call those movie people. Like they've only seen the movie and maybe or read The Killer Angels, but never really dove too deep into it because they're new to it all, right? And this is a great opportunity to give them that little tingle you get in the brain when you learn something new or one of those myths are busted or something like that. And you tell them about the Union troops that are not too far away behind Little Round Top that are eventually going to come out there, the 5th Corps and the 6th Corps on its way up and all the things. And then like I like to draw it out. Like, okay, let's say like he comes around here and he positions his lines like this and he sweeps all the way up the Taneytown Road and he's fighting and everybody's, it's a great old time, we're winning, and then oops, who's behind me? It's the 6th Corps and they're swallowing me whole. Or a million other ways that you could make that work. So I always love the little round top questions and because it's an interesting thing it's an interesting exercise.
Well, yeah, I think it I think most people, myself included, don't really have a fair comprehension of what it takes to move an army.
No, right.
To maneuver an army, to lead an army. And so, I think they're fun questions to ask, as long as we don't get too definitive with our answers.
I agree. What was the other question, Alex? Where do you want to go?
Actually, just one last thing on top of that. Well, now you got my mind thinking. I wanted to know the opinion on what you think. So if Cemetery Ridge is untenable, they take a little Round Top, and they can hold. Obviously, they're going to be, I guess, infled fire and everything. Where does Meade retreat out of there? Where does he go? Does he go to Pipe Creek, where he was originally going to go? Like, where do you think he would retreat to, or would he just kind of reform his lines? What's the scenario there?
Yeah, I don't know that. I do know that. So if I'm Abraham Lincoln, and my premier field army, the Army of the Potomac, has just been driven in any way, shape, or form from Gettysburg. I mean, they only got one direction they can go, which is south towards Maryland. And so I always, kind of try to imagine the political impact that would have had for Lincoln, for the Union cause, where the Army of the Potomac, not only can they not defeat the Army of Northern Virginia, but they were literally just driven from Pennsylvania. How disastrous that would have been for the election of 1864, the gubernatorial elections later that fall. What Meade would have done, I couldn't even begin to say. No,
but you kind of answered that in the first one. Is a million other things could have happened. It's easy to think he would have gone back to Pipe Creek, but who says that he would be able to go back to Pipe Creek?
There's so much to, again, moving an army. Actually, Kent Masterson Brown's book on Meade, I thought, did a tremendous job.
Yeah.
Of communicating how extraordinarily difficult it is to command an army.
Yep.
With logistical considerations, communication, the political pressure you're getting from Washington, D.C., the idiosyncrasies and relationships you have with your your corps commanders. I don't know what Meade would have done, but there's no scenario that it's good, right?
Right.
There's no scenario like, that went really well for us at Gettysburg.
Thank you very much, Alex, for the call. Have a good time with your dad.
I will. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. We just did an episode. We just put out an episode a couple of weeks ago with Ken about his Meade book.
Oh, it's fabulous.
And people are loving it.
It's fabulous book.
He's a great guy to talk to.
He's I would say he was very he spoke at our lecture series.
Yeah.
And, he was very generous with his time, and he's a consummate gentleman.
Very very easy to talk to, funny guy, great sense of humor.
Yeah,
good writer. Kent Masterson Brown. If you don't have that book, get a hold of it. And if you aren't a patron, how are you ever going to listen to that great interview that we did with Kent Masterson Brown? So go to patreon.com/addressinggettysburg and become a patron today. All right. So that's it for the callers. It looks like we're done there, Chris. I think you have done a fantastic job answering my questions and theirs. You're doing a great job, of course, in your actual job, your actual capacity, working at the park. I think I'm very proud of our park. I think this isn't to knock anybody else, but I'll put our people up against any other in a like a steel cage match,
park to park
brawl, and I think you guys will come out on top every time. And it's not because everybody else is bad; it's just because you were that good, and your team is that good. And I really do appreciate the things you guys do. That's about it, ladies and gentlemen, for us. Chris, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching. Thanks to people for calling in. And thank you for all the people who commented. Just, basically hello and stuff like that. Let's see, if they had just given Tribble one regiment and placed them on that side of the battlefield, he could have taken Little Round Top. Yes. Very funny, Scott. Okay. That's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to go home for the day. Good night. We'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Addressing Gettysburg Today is hosted and produced by Matt Callery and Veronica Brestensky, Esquire. Engineered by Colby Sumner and maybe, sometimes, someone else. Guests of the show stay wherever they want. That's not our concern. To be a guest on the show, send an email to matt@addressinggettysburg.com. Addressing Gettysburg Today broadcasts from the Gettys Bike Tour studios. To get a 15% discount on your next tour with Gettys Bike, call 717-752-7752. I'm Huevos Grande, the voice of Addressing Gettysburg Today. Thanks for listening.
could they be restrained from breaking forth in cheers while we were marching through Georgia? Hurrah, hurrah, we bring the Jubilee. Hurrah, hurrah, the flag that makes you free. So we sang the chorus from Atlanta to the sea while we were marching through Georgia. While we were marching through Georgia. While we were marching through Georgia.
This concludes our broadcast.